everybody. Welcome back to Best in Show Books, a booktube by Naughty Dog Books in Nashville, Indiana. I'm Shelby.
And I'm Gina.
And we are really excited to come back to you today and talk about, what are we talking about?
We are talking about The Lioness, which is by Chris Bohjalian.
Bohjalian.
We worked really hard on figuring out how to spell or how to pronounce his name. This book was a book that we decided to read together. It was on both of our TBRs. So it was not a book club pick. It was not a store pick. This was a Shelby told me that I ought to read this book, and I had already had it on my list. So we decided that this was a good choice. This little episode that we're bringing to you today is cursed because this is like the fourth time we seriously like the fourth time we have recorded this episode. Something went wrong every time. Mics, background, picture, something. So
which is a shame because like the book is not cursed.
No, we love this book actually.
But the discussion every time, it's like haunted. I'm gonna stop this video and there's gonna be something like grotesque in the background, or like half of my face won't be moving or something. So if it ever actually makes it to YouTube.
So if you're watching this, bless your heart and thank you for coming to it.
If you're watching it, we did it. Yes. We finally did it.
Hallelujah. All right. So this is, again, The Lioness by Chris Bohjalian. I'm going to say that it is a mix of genre. Historical fiction meets thriller.
Yeah, honestly. Adventure.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a rare genre. I feel like not many books are adventure, but
yes.
I feel like this, if you just look at the cover, it looks definitely very old Hollywood glam, but it had a lot more mystery, thriller, action, adventure in it.
Marks.
Yeah,
you could tell like it was going to be Claude.
The lion.
So Chris Bohjalian has written well over 20 books. He mostly writes historical fiction, but he loves thriller and mystery. So they tend to cross genres in his world. The Flight Attendant was one of his that made it into a show. So if you've watched The Flight Attendant, that was him. And this particular book, The Lioness, is slated to be a TV series as well. So I'm really excited.
Yes.
Because it's very visual.
Yes.
It's a very visual. And he has said that he really likes writing the dark underbelly and a good villain. And I love that. I totally agree.
Yeah. I love reading that. Yeah. So keep it up, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that when you read a book, it's a mystery thriller and you get the knight in shining armor right from the very beginning, or the characters really, really good and really, really bad. It's not that it's a boring story, but it's typical.
Kind of boring.
It can't
just be honest.
No, it can't be. So I feel like when you have that mixed, I don't know if I love every character or I don't know if I hate every villain. Yeah. That's a good story.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I like to like the villain a little bit. I mean
90% of the time I'm team villain. It's okay. I can admit it here. It's a safe space.
Yeah, safe space. We're crazy.
So let's get into it a little bit.
Yes.
And I'm just going to read a few sentences because, like Gina said, I did pick this, but it had been on my TBR for a while. Yeah. I didn't know much about it, and I was a little hesitant to read it because I thought, it's just kind of going to be glam Hollywood, and I was not so much in the mood for that, but boy, was I wrong. Absolutely. So let me read a little bit to wet your whistle. Oh, I can't speak for the dead, and I won't speak for the missing. I can only tell you what I think happened. Others, the dead and the missing, would probably have their own versions. Blame, I can tell you firsthand, is every bit as subjective as truth.
Great opening.
Great opening.
I felt like drew you in immediately. Like I needed to know more. And that's always important to me when I read a book. If the first page is like, I have to reread it, or I need to read more to get into it, I'm not bad about, I shouldn't say. I finish books when I start them.
Not me. I'm a quitter. I
have a hard time doing that.
No, I'm not going to waste my time on a book. I get that a lot of people are like that. I have to see it through.
Yes, like maybe it'll get better. I just need to know now. Or
I am ready to abandon a book after the first page, and maybe I just need to come back to it. But
I need to be better about that because there's only been a couple books that I'm like, I can't anymore. I just can't. But they've been really, really wordy.
Yeah. And this, I felt like being glam Hollywood and historical fiction, it was not wordy.
No, it was
and
not.
It was very pacey, and I really wasn't bogged down because the author does a good job of splicing the current safari action, which, yes. What was that, Gina? We haven't even told you what the plot is.
Plotline a little bit.
Cursed.
See, we've talked about it so much. We're just like,
you don't know already?
You don't know what this book is about. So it is Hollywood glam A-list actress and her husband who are going on safari for their honeymoon. And they have invited 6 of their friends and family. Mostly it's her brother and sister-in-law, and then it's all other people from Hollywood, writers, producers, agents, another actress but she's also married to a writer. So you're getting this expensive safari, which is a photography safari, and then they have a gentleman who is considered the best of the best guide.
Yes,
but he was also one of the last big game hunters. So he has transitioned from big game hunting safaris into photography safaris, and so it's
supposed to be safe.
Yes, it's supposed to be very safe. But right off the bat, there's a kidnapping of all of them. And so that's the journey that you get taken on through this story. But the way the author does it is very unique.
Yeah. So right off the bat, they are split up into, this big group is split up into maybe 3 Range Rovers. I think it's 3 groups.
3, because you have 2 groups and then the guides and people part of the safari on another one.
Yeah. So they're split up, and then the story kind of splits from there, because then you're following each car as you try and figure out, why are they being kidnapped and what's going to happen? Because I didn't really figure out why they were kidnapped. I felt like the author did a good job kind of stringing you along and letting you piece it together.
Yes.
I didn't. Sometimes you read a book and off the bat, you're like, oh, this happened because of this. Yes. No, I did not feel like that at all. Did you?
No, because the way the chapters write, which I interrupted you a second ago, that you get a little bit of a backstory for each chapter is a character. And each chapter you get a backstory for them, maybe how they got into Hollywood, where they came from. And then you get the why they're included in the safari, how they're connected to Katie, because she is the main character, especially at the beginning, main character. And then you get the what is happening currently in the kidnap situation. So you do get to piece together. You get to piece together the connections with each other. You get to piece together their story as to how could they have played a part in the kidnapping? Were they responsible? Are they the reason for the kidnapping? And each character, I feel like, could have been a possibility to a point.
Everyone slightly had a motive, but a motive. I'm going to use that really loosely because while I was reading it personally, I wasn't like, oh, this person did it. This person did it. I just flat out assumed, because she was the biggest movie star in the world. Oh, somebody wants money from Katie Barstowe. But that's interesting. I never pieced together that, in theory, everybody
could have had a motive.
Which we're not going to tell you.
No, everybody could have had a motive, but they could have also been the reason why they were being kidnapped, because their stories were very unique. Katie and her brother are, I love this word that Shelby introduced me to, and I can't believe I never heard it before. Nepo baby. Do you want to explain what that is?
Well, come on, guys. You know what a Nepo baby is. Like nepotism.
Yes.
Especially in the film industry and stuff like that. Because when we were reading it, we have a Google Doc where we share notes back and forth. And I was like, oh, there's Nepo babies. And then the next day, Gina was like, what are Nepo babies?
So Katie and her brother are siblings, and their parents were big in Broadway. Producers, actors. And so they had that legacy. Then you have the writer who is married to the B-list actress.
The other actress, Carmen.
Yeah, and he is the son of a big Hollywood producer, writer,
some bigwig in Hollywood.
Like his movies are super successful, but then you've got this kiddo that comes along and thinks, I'm going to ride on dad's coattails. And
he's an adult now.
Yeah, he's an adult now, but he's kind of like on the writing.
Yeah, they say that his scripts are just terrible. And one of the ways you get that is at the start of each chapter, there's a little paragraph or like a quote from a Hollywood tabloid. And in an interview I watched with him, was it the same one that you watched? He kind of talks
probably.
about at this time in Hollywood in real life, the tabloids were really big, and
those Hollywood magazines were lifeblood to people who followed Hollywood.
So those were always really interesting little tidbits to get before someone's chapter, because it often kind of clued you in on what maybe behavioral like trait you might see in this person. And a lot of the story was seeing how these people are handling this current kidnapping situation on the safari, contrasted with their life back home in Hollywood somehow.
And the backstory you get often in that particular chapter, whatever tidbit you get about their backstory plays into how they react in the current. And even the middle part on that chapter where you get told the why or the how, like if they've met somebody in the hotel before they go on safari, it all plays into that. In that chapter, you're going to learn some reason that they behave.
You just never know how you're going to handle. I hope I never know how I'll handle a situation like that. But I thought the author did a really good job of drawing these fictional characters as real people, because I felt like this could be a real person. Somebody could really behave like that, or someone on the flip side could really behave like her, where she just kind of was like, how can I survive?
So the interesting thing with this book is the land is so much a character, because the plants and the animals can kill you in this area. I mean,
that's what he said. That's what the author said.
The author actually says that. And you get an idea of, you've got the leopards, the jackals, the snakes, the birds, you've got the plants that you can't touch.
Yeah.
You've got very few trees, and figuring out which trees you can climb and get into for safety, and how to stay awake so you don't get eaten by the jackals. I mean, there's all of this. And some of these characters figure it out really quick how to survive. And some of them are just like, what do I do? Do I just wander around aimlessly in the desert looking for help? And then you've got the captors.
Yes. And who we won't tell you anything about.
No, because I feel like that's a huge part of the storyline.
Being very tactful and subversive in our
spoiler
clues.
Alerts, because this is like a thriller. And the fact that this is a totally fictional story, so you can't Google it and find out what really happened in the world, because these actors and actresses don't exist. And which was an interesting thing, because it is a thriller, even though it's historically set in the 60s with Hollywood, and a time in the Serengeti. Where were they at?
They were in Tanzania. 1964,
and the Congo area. So there's turmoil in this area historically. So that is all playing into this story, but none of these characters are real. So we don't want to give you too much away. But while the animals and the plants are trying to kill them, you're also getting that parallel with the captors, and you can kind of see how the prey and the predator play out in both human and animal.
There were so many scenes in this book that I thought were so tense, and I was just flipping the pages as fast as I could.
There's a whole lot that goes on, and it is intense, gritty. I would say the writing, it's brutal, and it can be intense, but that made it so much more realistic. Like it wasn't fluffy. Like you got the whole experience. Like you could feel it, you could see it, you could taste it, you could smell it. Like it was just
a very atmospheric and immersive story.
Yeah, I can see why his books have been made into TV or movies, because they're very visual. I felt like very visual.
Yeah, there were several characters that I really liked in this book, but there were also some that I did not like.
Did it change for you as the book progressed, whether you liked or didn't like them?
I think so. And I don't think there was anybody who I 180'd on. I started out loving them and then I hated them, but my affection for them grew as the story progressed, and I would see how they were handling these situations. And
so affection grew more so than dislike for characters. Like you already chose who you were going to dislike.
Well, yeah, I already pretty much knew who I was going to dislike. It just got stronger.
Okay, I get that.
What do you think?
I get that, because there was a couple of characters, their backstory played so much into who they were that it didn't matter how they reacted in the situation. I felt like I already had my opinions of those people. and they didn't really change.
Mm-hmm.
They did not change.
I agree.
There was only one character that maybe I was questionable about, and even at the end I was still questionable about, and that was the guide.
Oh, yes.
That was the one that I was kind of like,
the main.
Yes.
Let's turn to our handy dandy list. Charlie Patton.
Yes, Charlie Patton. He was the one that I don't know that I loved him at the beginning because, but I appreciated who he was and his place in history, being the game hunter and being, you know, the all-knowing, the all-seeing of everything. And I loved his story about the elephants, which I know you did too.
It was so sad. He in one scene talks about an elephant graveyard, which a child of the Lion King, you know, I knew what an elephant graveyard was, but I had no idea how they were formed per se. Did you?
I did not
ever think through that?
I did not.
So he says that elephants, being animals of a herd mentality, as they get older, they realize that they can't really fend for themselves. They don't want to be a burden on the rest of the herd. So what they do is they remove themselves from the herd voluntarily.
Yes.
Which
so sad.
I felt like was so sacrificial.
Yes.
And so they go along with the other older elephants and they'll find some place that has easy access to water, to shade, to shelter. And they kind of live out their final days there and then they just die. So when their bones are in the elephant graveyard, that's where they died.
Yeah.
And there's something so sad and poignant about that to me,
and yet there was the element of family and responsibility and taking care even in the hard times. Hi, Arthur.
My gosh.
Arthur's so lovable today.
So
he's like, you guys have spent enough time not paying attention to me, so it's my turn now. Yeah, I thought these stories from the guides about the land and the animals, it added so much to it because then you could see how the people mimicked. Yeah, how we as humans mimic that pride mentality or me first.
Yes.
Like I'm going to put my needs before yours, just like an animal in the wilderness would. Or I don't know. It was a really good story all the way around.
It was. Yeah.
All the way around.
Yeah. We'll probably just lay down over there.
On me.
Just desperate. And your shirt, he's wagging his tail back here. Your shirt's going to be covered in white dog hair.
Hi. I just got kisses. This is great.
So overall, I really enjoyed the Lioness. Did you?
Oh, I loved the Lioness. I thought it was really good. And excuse me, I think I have a dog hair in my face.
On me.
I really liked Chris Bohjalian, and he has another book out called The Jackal's Mistress.
Just accept it, Gina.
I'm accepting
it. This is part of you now.
This is me. All right. And The Jackal's Mistress, we are actually choosing it for one of our historical fiction book club books in a couple months. So I'm excited. I really enjoyed the author and I really enjoyed this book. This was my first time with this author. How about you?
Me too. Yeah. There have been several others by him that I've always thought, oh, I should read that. I need to add that to my immediate TBR, but I've never gotten around to it. So I'm really glad we read this.
Yes.
And we both liked it enough for you to pick his new release for book club. I think that I'm really excited to hear what the group thinks about that.
I am too. I'm hoping that we enjoy it as much as we did this one. So yeah. So if you have read anything by Chris Bohjalian, let us know. Or if you've read The Lioness, drop us a comment and we'd love to hear from you. Or if you've read this and have comments about what we've talked about, we'd love to hear that too.
Yeah. Or if there are others by him that you think we should read, we are always looking to add things to our TBR.
Which is really short.
Yeah. So we are going to link our bookshop in the comments so that you can grab a copy of The Lioness yourself. And please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss out on any recommendations and additions to your TBR. So thank you for tuning in to this episode of Best in Show Books here at Naughty Dog Books in Nashville, Indiana. I'm Shelby.
And I'm Gina. And Arthur.
And Arthur. And we'll see you next time.